This video is meant to provide an overview of the NZP Tool Standard Operating Procedure document. The document outlines the data needs and timeline associated with the NZP tool to provide energy, water, and waste data for a Sustainability Component Plan, or SCP. The document can be found on the district shared drive or can be obtained by emailing the point of contact given in the description below. 2 points should be made before we begin. First, this is a living document and changes will occur over time, but the process listed here has been used successfully for many SCP events. Second, this document describes an ideal process and timeline that provides enough time for the many possible delays associated with working with a large team and balancing of many projects at the same time. Actual projects can deviate significantly from this timeline without issue. Now let's take a quick look over the document. You'll notice that the document is broken up into sections that roughly fall along a timeline associated with either the data collection event or, later on, the Sustainability Component Plan workshop, here listed as SCP. If we go back to the top, we can see that the first section is listed as 3 weeks prior to the data collection event. At this time, we're trying to collect GIS data and other additional documentation. For both of these sections, the data requests have been organized according to priority. Ideally, we would be able to collect all of the data and it would go towards making the highest quality possible models within the tool. However, this is not realistic for all of our studies, and so the priority given has been listed to try to maximize the effectiveness of the study while minimizing the time requirement and working with the existing data. The next section of the process occurs 2 weeks prior to the data collection event. At this point, SERL has already received the GIS data and is able to upload it into the NZP tool. SERL personnel and district personnel can go into the tool and make any adjustments or additions to the data that are needed. At this point, most of the time there's data that's missing from the GIS information and needs to be filled in before you can continue in the tool. This information can often be found in real property index data and other forms that were listed above as preferred but not required. At 1 week prior to the data collection event, all the GIS information should be in the tool and corrected according to the additional resources provided. District personnel can then fill out the Study Information tab, including things like electric and natural gas rates and the current electric and natural gas consumptions. Any other fuel types that are used on the installation can be added at that time as well. During the data collection event, district personnel and at times SERL personnel travel out to the installation and participate in the data collection step. The data can be entered in real time into the tool if a laptop and mobile hotspot can be used on the installation. If that is not available, the information can be taken on notes and then entered into the tool at a later time. Many times it is not possible to collect data for all of the individual buildings. When this happens, you can determine the key buildings to be audited by ordering the facility groups by square footage and then looking at the largest square footage groups and choosing the ones with the highest energy usage intensity. You can go down the group by facility groups and find usually the highest 5 or 6 groups to find representative buildings from those groups and cover a large amount of the building energy usage. Additionally, any unusual use buildings, such as buildings with high process loads, buildings like dining commons or data centers, are good candidates for individual audits. Data collection personnel should also determine if any of the buildings are served by a central energy plant. If a plant does exist, a tour of the plant should be taken and information should be collected on the current existing equipment within the plant. By the end of the data collection event, the district team should be able to develop a baseline and then perform calibration based on any metering data that's available, whether for individual buildings or for a larger group of buildings. At this time, a base case can be completed as well if the future building GIS is provided. 1 week after the data collection event, district personnel should be able to provide baseline and base case EUIs to the contractor if needed. The contractor can also provide any data that they were able to collect in the form of planning information, photographs, and notes collected during the data collection event. If not already received, the contractor can then also provide the GIS for future buildings. It is good practice to have a meeting between the district personnel and the contractor 1 week prior to the SCP event. This meeting is used to check the calibration of the baseline and base case information, to ensure that the contractor and district personnel are on the same page and that all the buildings that are part of the study have been confirmed by both parties. At the beginning of the SCP workshop, district personnel can provide an overview of the NCP tool. They will also bring the NCP tool to the workshop and work interactively with the participants and the contractor to form the better and best case scenarios. These will be done individually for each installation as we try to meet the EUI targets for that installation. Supply and distribution analysis can also be performed at this time. Once the better and best scenarios have been completed, the contractor will provide data on the individual buildings for their demolished date, built, and when EEM upgrades will be performed. This data is used to inform the phasing analysis. The number of alternatives can vary from study to study, but all studies will include this minimum set of alternatives: the baseline, base case, better case, and best case, and finally, a selected building scenario, usually the better or best case, along with some installation scale analysis. These can create multiple additional alternatives depending on the amount of time and resources left. This section defines the required deliverables. These reports should be given over to the contractor as soon after the SCP workshop as possible. The first two are related to the building energy usage and the costs related to the EEM upgrades. The next one is related to the energy and costs for the entire study, including the supply and distribution equipment. The fourth deliverable is related to central plant equipment, if one exists for the study. The fifth deliverable is a report related to the water usage, and the sixth deliverable is a waste report. For each one of these reports, the information in the parentheses tells you where to find the report within the tool. This concludes our discussion of the Standard Operating Procedure document. If there are any further questions, please email the point of contact in the description below.